let's get this started. Uh,
Um,
you want to start with the summary?
I can do that. So, The Fall is an American post-apocalyptic drama television series created by Graham Wagner and Geneva Robertson Duarte for Amazon Prime Video. It's based on the role-playing video game franchise created by Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky. The series stars Ella Purnell, Aaron Moten, Kyle MacLachlan, Moises Aries, and Walton Goggins, as well as a host of other guest stars that pop up throughout the episodes. So Jonathan Nolan directed the first three episodes. Fallout premiered on Prime Video on April 10th, 2024, and the series has already been picked up for a second season. So just a quick note, this review will have spoilers and mentions of gratuitous violence, so trigger warning for anyone who needs it. So quick
Mm.
premise, just picked up from Wikipedia on the series for those who are not a fan of the or weren't aware that the game existed, such as I. The series depicts the aftermath of the Great War of 2077, an apocalyptic nuclear exchange in an alternate history of Earth where advances in nuclear technology after World War II led to the emergence of a retrofuturistic society and a subsequent resource war. Many survivors took refuge in a fallout bunker known as vaults. 219 years later, in 2296, a young woman named Lucy leaves behind her home in Vault 33 to venture out into the dangerously unforgiving wasteland of a devastated Los Angeles to look for her father who's been kidnapped. Along the way, she meets a Brotherhood of Steel squire, a ghoul bounty hunter, both of which have their own mysterious past agendas to settle. So that's where we dig
Nice.
in for episode one. So passing the mic back to you, Lee.
Nice. Sorry, I had to do a little bit of adjusting. Adjusting. Um, hmm. hmm. So I was really impressed by how it started off because when you watch as many series as I do, a lot of the time the pilot episode takes a lot of foundation building. I was immediately drawn in, which I immediately appreciated because sometimes the first episode is usually something I think you just got to get through. I would say probably within the first 5 minutes I was invested. So that's really good. Um, I
Same.
feel like I feel like so many things happen within the pilot episode. Um, I spent a lot of time during the pilot episode trying to figure out where I was going. But in terms of cohesive messages, did you see anything that stood out to you or themes?
Actually, I thought it was based off the fact that I didn't really know the background of the series before starting to watch the series.
Hmm.
Um, the first thing that popped out is you have like a very 1950s feel. So he has like the whole cowboy motif going on, the language, all of it has like a 50s, 60s kind of vibe. And then there is a black male talking to a white male in a bonded kind of way that I went, this isn't our 50s, 60s. So I was busy trying to chronologically place when this was like actually taking place. Then you also had like the war bomb. You had little side messages on the television, and the mom saying, "Nope, we're here to have fun. This is a party," type of a thing. So all of that, I was kind of trying to place when this was. So it took me a while to realize this is an alternate Earth and alternate timeline of events. That said, I was definitely pulled in on just the different dynamics where, what apparently this was a celebrity who's fallen from grace, what's happened to him. He has a kid of mixed race.
Race.
So you kind of want to know that backstory. Um, and then all heck breaks out. So, like you said, it definitely pulls you in, was intriguing right from the beginning. I thought how they cut up the episode was also really intriguing. So you kind of cut from um, uh, Cooper Howard to Lucy to Maximus, and all of them have very different worlds. And the
Yeah.
music is different. The themes are different. Like the clothing is different. You go from like Western vibes to Star Trek looking uniform kind of vibes with 50 swooner music in the bomb shelters. Then you have like Maximus, and it's interesting. I didn't know that Jonathan Nolan directed this, who is Christopher Nolan's brother, who and both of them worked on Inception together. But the beats for Maximus and the Brotherhood instantly brought me to Inception. I was like, oh, this vibe feels like how Inception's little doom doom, like those bass notes. So I just felt like it was very interesting how you had like very separate worlds that had been created and they meshed together well. And even as they went back and forth, it didn't feel like you were pulled out of it entirely. You were able to kind of keep along with the chronological lines.
Yeah. I didn't. Inception is one of my favorite movies. But I didn't make that connection. Probably because I didn't know that he was his brother till after I finished watching it. But I like read his name and I didn't even think the connection. But even though I saw his list of movies and I was just like, oh, Dark Knight Rises, but I didn't make the connection. I don't know how I missed it. But yeah, yeah, I didn't see that connection. I'll have to go back and check that out. Um, I think they're very different individuals for sure. And the ghoul at the end too.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of themes, did you see anything that really stood out?
Such as
Anything?
like
Message of a whole story, cohesive
I think
message?
that it'll be interesting as you kind of dig into the next few episodes. I do think that there is a theme, or it touches on morality and ethics. Um, who is good, what is good, and if you're doing actions for the right reasons, is it justified? That was kind of the feeling I got for like the first episode. So Lucy is born in a world that, and she even says that she teaches history and ethics for the greater good of like the new America. So when she kind of comes up into this apocalyptic world, post-apocalyptic world, she's trying to bring those values and that moral center into the world. And essentially everywhere she goes, people are telling her, "You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it because you need to adapt to what this reality is." And I guess
Oh,
it kind of brings up if
it's in episode
society
one,
is providing.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I might have skipped ahead there a little bit. So she just pops up in episode one. But I do think that the series does kind of hit on some morality um, tones as far as what is just, what is righteous, what if society says it's okay, should it be okay, and do your morals change depending on events? So I feel like that underground society never experienced killing or violence, but when violence came to them, you saw who was able to handle and adjust and who was looking around.
Right. Um, okay, cool. What do you think, um, I'm sorry, who do you think resonated with you the most of the main characters?
Mm, that is a good question. Um,
Do you want me to answer while you're thinking?
I could tell you who didn't versus more so than I can who did. Yeah, let's hear your answer first.
Well, I think we're strictly going off of episode one. I
Right.
felt like in this first episode, I I think resonated isn't the right word now. I felt like I understood Lucy the most. Next was Max, but I felt like,
Really?
yeah, in episode one, I felt a deeper sense of connection to him. However, I'm sorry. Maybe the dad and remind me the dad's name, the actor.
Cooper Howard is his name.
Yes, Cooper Howard was probably second, and then Max, because I felt like I understood what he was trying to do, but there was a lot of details left out. Max, there was a lot of shiftiness in what was going on in terms of um, who did what, his allegiances, all of the flashbacks he had as a kid. Um, but I felt more pulled into him more so than the goal. Um, yeah.
All right, so I think I would love to hear
Those are
people
the
comment.
main characters. I also resonated with,
Yeah,
not
so
resonated, but I felt like I understood where the dad was coming from. Lucy's dad.
I would love to hear some of the other comments and their takes on these characters. So, going through the list of characters for the Fallout Episode 1. So you have Ella Purnell, who's Lucy McLean. You have Maximus. Um, you have Hank McLean, who is Lucy's dad. You have Norm McLean, who is Lucy's brother. And then Walton Goggins, who plays the ghoul, and Cooper Howard. And then um, Maximus' best friend, Dane. I think Norm, I kind of identified with him, who's Lucy's brother. He was sharp. He understood what was going on situationally. He was definitely not his dad's favorite, and that dynamic felt a little weird because he was all about Lucy. Not that Lucy's not great, but you do have another child here. There was there. I would love to hear more about that family dynamic and backstory. But yeah, he was really quick on the uptake after the Raiders came through. He was telling Lucy, this board is not about to go get our father. They finally have the opportunity to be in charge. Why would they get rid of that? And then she was like, I don't want to have to knock you out to not come. He's like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm a chicken. You don't have to worry about that. So I did like him. He was on point. He understood the mission, the assignment. Um, I don't want to consider myself a chicken. I hope that I was step to bat, but he was very strategic, and I like that out of him. Um, I'm very interested to hear more about who Hank McLean is, Lucy's dad, and her mom. There's definitely backstory there. Um, but Maximus, I liked the least. So it was just interesting that you said that you related to him because he
I
seemed
know resonated wasn't the right
character.
word.
He seemed a weak character. He said that he joined the Brotherhood for essentially for vengeance. Um, and I don't trust him. I think that he put that blade in Dane's shoe so that he could get that role. And I question because he also seemed like he was bullied. He was a poor performer. It looked like in the classes. So he doesn't really have the respect of his teammates, and he's not excelling. I'm like, how was he next in line to get picked as the squire? That's one. And two, what is the psych eval for these people getting picked to be squires for RoboCops and whatnot and T60s or whatever they were? Yeah, I'm not a big Max fan, and yeah, yeah. So interested to hear in the comments other people's thoughts and feelings on the characters. I felt that they did do a really good job on um, developing the characters. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, it was a longer episode than most episodes are given. Streaming services are allowed to away with a lot. So normally, like on and my writer friends, you chime in. Normally, like on other shows, there's a certain dynamic of things you have to do. You have to introduce all the characters in the first episode. You need to adhere to a certain time frame, and services have to streaming service has streaming services have been able to bypass all of that. I like to defend myself on the resignates. I don't mean resignates. I meant I was pulled into that story, and I think that Max is likely to have done it, especially when he pledged his allegiance. I was just like, Some ain't right in this place.
Yeah,
Like he's
that
saying
whole
all the
thing.
right stuff.
You can kill me if you must, or you can punish me however. I was like, no, that felt very like if you watch like
Yeah.
true crime serial killer esque. I am exhibiting the
It,
behavior that you need me to exhibit in order for me to get away with something that I have done. He never said he didn't do it. Even when Dane said they asked me if you did it, he never claimed that he didn't do it. I feel like he did it. I feel like Dane has misplaced her trust in this human being.
well, also,
Who the heck did
when
I
she
befriend?
said, when she, oh, maybe that's the theme. She was saying, um, I told him you wouldn't hurt a fly. The look on his face, I was like, ooh, there's way more to that story.
You don't know this
So
guy. Yeah.
what I meant to say was storylines that drew you in. The first storyline was very well established. I felt like with Howard. Why do I keep forgetting
Cooper
his
Howard.
name?
Yeah.
Cooper
Mm-hmm.
Howard. When she said drop it to her husband, I was like, oh, there's a lot going on here. Say the line, say the line. He's like, he didn't want to say the line. Um, there was a lot going on there. And then with the thumb thing, I thought that was very
Oh,
interesting. He was like,
okay. So I meant to
I didn't
Google to see if
understand
that
it
was
until it
true.
happened.
I really wanted to like Google to see if that was true thing that was taught or told to people during like the 50s and 60s when we were in like the Cold War. 60s and 70s? I don't know. Whenever we were in the Cold War. When we were afraid of nuclear attack. Gosh, I got to work on my American history. But I was like, ooh, cool fun fact. No, I will say this. His reaction was not as quick as I thought it would be because I thought that he said he was in the military. So him talking about, no, that's just a fire and smoke. I'm like, sir, do you see how big this cloud is? That ain't just no fire and smoke. Move. They waited all the way for that aftershock to like blast them before people were like, go, 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 go. And the people in the house were moving faster than they did. They got blasted with all that glass. We were like, gotta go.
I thought that was a touch of real because I think that they wanted it to not be true and they were responding to that. So I think that that was actually real. I was thinking once that wave hit the glass, it was already too late for them because I thought the radiation probably got them. So I was wondering where they were going because
Also, it
I
looked
had
like they were
thought
going
that she
to
didn't have
war.
time.
Yeah.
I
I was just
thought she
saying,
wouldn't have had time. There's a little bit of a lag, so you go.
so no, I was just saying same because it looked like they were going in the direction of the blast when you saw the horse and him carry them when he was like leaving.
But like as far as a human can travel, um, I didn't think that you could do that because I know with like a volcano, it's a wrap. So I felt like the air traveling would probably be faster, but my science has never been great. You gotta love me for other things.
Well,
Um,
think of the volcano in Hawaii that erupted. Is it Hawaii?
there
Yeah.
was a non-active one that became active or something like that.
Um, yeah.
I
But
think
people were
Hawaii
able
is
to
right,
survive that. So it's just about timing as far as
but
how ahead
they
of
were
it
able to
you are.
survive it. They were able to survive it because of science. Like people knew about it. They gave them the heads up. In terms of those people running, they didn't have a heads up. So I thought once it had hit them, that was a wrap, which is different than a volcano knowing and evacuating. Um, a couple years ago, there was a hurricane, and there's this meme of Drake, and it says, "Y'all evacuating or nah?" Um, okay, so I like that storyline. Now, I think Lucy's storyline was the most, I want to say
Intriguing.
complex, because not
Oh, it
intriguing.
had like levels. You're
It
saying.
had the most attention. It was the writing was a lot focused on her storyline. Um, you knew things weren't right from the beginning of that marriage. Uh, you didn't need to see him wipe his jizz on that curtain to know that that wasn't ideal. The way that they were eating at dinner, I was just like, yeah, something's not right.
Okay, so I questioned that too. I was like, so they have interesting level of manners, and then she popped up with, "What's your sperm count?" I'm like, oh, so everyone's got their
So yeah,
different.
everybody's got their things.
Whoa. So, but when they were laying in bed together, and you saw that big scar down his side, that's where I also had a question because I was just like, aren't they all in like preen condition? Like, what's that about? But she didn't mention or say anything about it. Then like she wakes up again and he's playing around with the water tap, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right.
It never felt right, honestly. Um, from the moment he stepped out, it didn't feel right. Um,
Honestly, I was with her and her girlfriend because her brother was messing with her, talking about, oh, you're gonna love him regardless of what he looks like. What if he's ugly? And then he's popped out, and she looked back at her girlfriend. And her girlfriend was like,
yeah, girlfriend took
"Well, he
a
ain't
fork
ugly.
to
I
the
don't know if
eye
he can
later
talk, if
too.
he can hold a conversation, but he ain't ugly."
Yeah, yeah, she took a fork to the eye later too.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry. She's a survivor because she took a fork to the eye and then kept fighting while pregnant.
yeah, after losing her man, yeah,
Now, yeah, she definitely, yeah,
yeah,
that's rough.
you better take her out because she's dangerous.
The second she lost her eye, I was like, yeah, I can see you with an eye patch and being a boss. Like, you got this. But several of those folks did
Magicians,
not have
Margot.
survival skills whatsoever. Because I was just like, okay, I understand that Lucy and Wade, I want to say his name was it Wade?
Hmm.
Um,
Okay, yeah,
um, were going on their honeymoon, so they kind of left the party early. But it just felt like people were kind of like standing
that was
there
a honeymoon.
die. Like the other thing is like, why is your armory so easy to get into? Like you don't need a key
I
card. It's a serious coding. There's nobody there that can hit like a alarm signal quickly. Like what?
I think when you have a generation of people who don't understand that there are threats out there, all kinds of things could happen. Because even as things were going down, it was like they just didn't know how to react, even
Yeah, dude
as
was
they
talking
were
about
getting
don't bring
attacked.
that Jello pudding cake or whatever out here. I'm like, buddy, I don't think
So
that that's the pressing issue.
I think it was the ignorance that they had. They just didn't have a concept of how other people were, and then I think the dad did that on purpose. And I also thought, I didn't know what the other colony had been through. So I was thinking she was about to go into a colony that didn't have food, or like I just thought she was going to be exported into a place that wasn't good. But then
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, the war broke out, which um, I didn't understand from episode one why that happened because I would have thought they would have wanted to take as much resources from them as possible. And the way that they went about that, I don't think that it was the best way to have done that.
So I didn't immediately go, these are outsiders. I assumed, because she had mentioned a blight, and then you saw the brother kind of go through and see the devastation. Like, oh, okay, so they've been starving for real. Which is also, I was like, okay, maybe that's explaining why they're eating in a manner that they are because they've been starving for a long period of time. But yeah, I would have thought let's um, acclimate and move into this Volt society versus having to kill everyone. Like I don't. And then they were like, no,
Well,
we're outsiders. And then she kind of was like on a whole different level
whole nother
of
level.
mission as to
Yeah,
why she
she's
was
on a whole nother
attacking
level.
them. So
The first time I
yeah,
saw her, I believe, was Homeland, but I've seen her all over since.
I
Great
have seen her
actress.
all over. She is a great actress.
Great actress. Um, no, what I was saying is
Rita Shuri, I think is
the
how
way
her name
that
is
they
pronounced.
the way that they went about it is they could have pretended that pleasantry rounded everybody up and then ensured that there weren't deaths or hurting or people hiding. And The
I
way
don't
that they
think
went about that, I
that
don't
was
think
their
it was the
concern.
greatest.
Their concern was not preserving lives. Matter of fact, I think that they relished
I'm talking
in
about
hurting
their
people.
own lives. So instead of making sure that they were successful, nobody else got hurt, they could have secured everything. The way that they went about it, they actually had to enter combat.
I
And
think more.
that is,
Sorry.
no, they actually had to enter combat and people were hiding, they didn't have an account for where everybody was. So I didn't think that that was the best tactic.
No, I get where you're going with that, but I feel like they have more of a Spartan mentality where they relish the fighting.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. I was like, that wasn't smart. That wasn't a smart tactic. That was um, lustful, and she made it seem like there was some stuff behind it because he was like, "I think I know who you are." And she's like, "Shit, everybody knows who I
Everybody
am."
knows who I am.
I don't.
I can't wait to find out more. So we
Yeah.
know that she's a witch based off of how it ended. Oh my goodness. Um, Mykelti Williamson popping up at the end there, Honcho, for the ghoul popping up. That was a surprise, and I did enjoy how that scene fully unraveled. Let's just say that you don't threaten the ghoul.
Man, how many years? How many years has it been since Forrest Gump? He's never gonna live that role down.
Gosh, I think was that 96, 94?
Yeah, I was like in elementary school, so like that's like at least 30 plus years. Yeah, so he's never gonna live that role down. um,
I don't know. I like him in everything I've seen him in. I think that he
yeah,
is a
great
great
actor,
actor. I just
great
finished
actor.
listening to, I think David Allen Greer was on NPR and he was talking about that he has definitely turned out a whole bunch of
Roles.
roles. Thank you. And one of them was Forrest Gump. Like his agent kept giving him Forrest Gump. He was like, if I was going to be if I was going to be in this movie, I would be the lead, not the lead's friend. Uh, cut to
So,
the
so,
movie
so
releases. His
he's
agent taking him out there. He's like, "Why didn't you?" She was like, I gave you the script three times, and you didn't want it."
he did Blank Man instead. Although Blank Man is one of my favorite
I
movies,
like
seriously, but
Blake
still,
Man. That's
it
an
did not
underrated
rake in what Forrest Gump broke in. Actually,
It did not.
Forrest Gump is really one of my favorite movies because it covers so many different time pieces, so many different scenarios, um, and every movie is not my favorite one, even though we keep running into good ones. Um, in terms of wrapping this up on time, I'd like to say I think we both felt the same about Maximus, and I think the ghoul the ghoul part was kind of at the tail end, so there wasn't a lot for me to grasp. But I did grasp that that concept that you were saying that um, you don't really know. I don't really know who you are was kind of a theme
Oh, we talk about as far as befriending folks,
about Lucy didn't really know
befriending.
who her dad was.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
McCletty,
uh,
Honcho thinking that he could control the ghoul.
the,
Dane
the
not
the
necessarily.
the
Oh,
brother,
sorry.
the father not really knowing who his son was. Um, it was just a theme throughout, and I think that that was kind of like the message of the first episode. From a writer standpoint, I think that like there's like a series theme message, and then there's like a show message. For instance, I always use The Crown as an example because it's so easy to grasp, but it's like the series theme is everything worth um, the crown is giving everything up worth this crown. Um, and then like the Diana one is my marriage worth, fighting for this crown. Actually, it's not fighting for it, bro. Is protecting the crown worth my marriage? Like each season has like a different central focus, and within that, each episode has like a different component of that. So I always try to grasp what the component was is of that first episode, because I think it usually is a big thing.
Telling for how the rest
Oh.
of the series will
Mhm.
continue. So, with that, then, where do you think the series will go?
I think it's going to continue to be these slices, because the way that the costumes were set up is very easy to tell what um, piece we were in. At first, I thought they were going to do like a crash thing. Crash is not the right word. But they were going to like link up timelines. Because I was like, oh, he's of color, the girl's of color, maybe the. But then 200 years was in between, so I was like, that ain't it.
So I did question. I am kind of questioning that. And again, people, I have not watched the video game, so and I've not actively gone out to cheat to see what's happened in those video games. So don't come for me if I'm saying stuff that's already been proven. But I am wondering if truly 219 years has passed, um, or if it's like less, or did they kind of lie to the folks as to how long they've been in the vault? How many generations it truly has been. Um, I guess I'm just kind of curious on more to these few who are Volt, who were less enough to be in the vault versus outside during this radioactive period of time. I need to get me Volt
Mm.
money. Depending on what happens in this next election, that will be number one priority.
You also need to have enough storage for, is it how many, 20 years or 10 years that you have to stay under? Because
I don't
in
know.
Blast from
I
the
have to
Past,
watch
they had like
Kim.
a whole irrigation system so that they could continuously. I was like, yeah, you might survive, but that 10 years of being under, that takes a scientist to do. So you would probably be screwed.
Got to get
10
it
years of rationing,
right.
yeah. I'd be trying to ration for the week and it don't be working. So it'd be a whole year left and just be like, shit. Thanksgiving was fun while it happened, but damn. Yeah, I know that wouldn't end right with me in charge, especially with food. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of. I didn't really have any feelings towards the direction that things were going after the first episode.
So here's the thing that I will say. With Lucy leaving, I was a little surprised. Like they made all these comments that the next generation, the world will be safe enough for us to leave the vault. So Lucy's like, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go find my dad. I was like, where's your hazmat gear? Like, if you feel like the world above is radioactive, and yeah, you did have folks that came from the surface down here, um, but I don't understand necessarily why you feel like you can go out there unprotected. Like, I don't even feel like she put sunblock
Um, um, radioactiveness, I think it lasts for like 10 to 20 years. They've been down there for 200, so I don't,
it
I
depends,
didn't know.
I think,
Plus,
on
they
how
had
many
done
nuclear
that
blasts.
exchange. Sorry, they had done that exchange between, I want to say tribes, but tribe's not the right word. So they had
Well, they did the exchange
inter.
of vaults, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah. So they had traveled to and from, probably without gear as well.
Yeah, but you're underground, so I get that. But you're
Well,
now leaving to go on
I
to
meant while they were
explore.
above ground. Yeah, I meant when they were above ground. So I think she kind of
I
had a
don't think.
knowledge of.
Sorry, my thought, because they greeted the other vaults underground from like door to door. It seemed like they had maybe a subway system of tunnels that were underground as far as them being able to connect. It didn't. I didn't have a sense or feeling that someone was just going to be like, "It's Vault 31, open up," kind of a thing. But
Hmm.
especially since
I
they
thought
kept saying how dangerous it was to be up above, like I don't know. But
to
yeah,
me,
I was just like,
yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
yeah. I just thought with 200 years they had some more research and tangible evidence. I guess that was an assumption on my part, but the tunnels were built for the as they went on, and I felt like they were built because people went to the outside to um, do what they needed to do to build the tunnels. So I thought that they had like an understanding of what the outside world was like. That was an assumption. I'm curious to find out what all these flashbacks were like with Maximus, um, and I'm curious to see what happens with Wade, and I'm curious to see who this little girl's mother is.
Yeah, I want to see who the mom is, what happened to the mom. I want to see what happened and who Lucy's mom is. Um, I, I'm not a fan of Maximus, so we'll see what his progression is.
I
Mm.
I am a good person, but I tend to like bad characters. Not in my dating life, but like, on screen. I think they're very interesting. They do um things that are very true to themselves, and I think that a lot of people don't really do things that are true to themselves all the time. So, I usually like characters like that. Um, and I think there was a period of time where people were just evil for being the sake of evil, but now we have these Marvel villains who are actually saying some stuff where you're like, wait a minute, that makes sense.
I like a complex character. I like people with layers. Maximus doesn't strike me as that. He does
Really,
not feel exceptional in any way, and I think that irks
there's
me.
a lot. There's a lot going on. I probably gave him the benefit
I
of the
think
doubt. I
he's a
was like, if he's doing
kid
this,
who, go ahead.
yeah, if he's doing this as an espionage thing, there's probably a reason. And the flashbacks he saw as a kid made me think um, some stuff went down that we're not aware of. Yeah.
So what I took it was like, there was definitely violence that happened in the cities and everywhere else based off of resources being limited. Um, it looked like one of the T-60s might have saved him, and he created some kind of affection to that role. It's kind of like a cop in today's era time saving a child and then wanting to grow up to be a cop. So I get that, but his loyalty doesn't really feel sincere to me because I think like it's ultimately
Yeah, that
he feels
the story
that
you're telling,
he,
I'm sorry, the story you see and the story I see are kind of different. You're saying, oh, he became a cop and he wasn't loyal. I'm saying he never was loyal and was doing it for a reason.
we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, I don't think that he ever was loyal. I thought he knew his behind would be killed if he didn't say what was right, but I thought from a young age he was taught to be who we see. And we'll
I
see.
just I no, I think he's a weak character at heart. Period. I think that I don't think that he is the brightest. I don't think that he is the strongest. I think that he is doing whatever he feels is needed for him to get by. So I think that's what we saw in that interrogation. But I think that he saw that T-60 come down and it was able to whoop butt, and that's what he wanted to be, potentially based off the fact that he was a scared little kid and this was something that wasn't scared, so he wanted to be something or in a position where he wouldn't be scared, but he's a scared little boy in a grown man's body with I am not a fan. I'm clearly
I
not a fan of this
see that you're
this
not.
poor
I
man.
see that you're not a fan. I'm
But
just
you know
saying
what,
you're
great
describing a
acting,
lot of on his part
great
because you're invested.
acting on his part for me to feel this deeply.
Um, you're describing a lot of men. They they see what has hurt them and they want to be this version of whatever. Most men aren't the strongest or the smartest. So what you're saying that is so detrimental to you not liking Max is really, really like across the board something that a lot of men are and do.
I'm not saying, so I think that you misstated something that I said. I think that he was scared as a kid and he saw something or a person or being that didn't show fear, and that's what he wanted to rise up to be. Yes, I think that a lot of people kind of pick their role models from that. But I think as a human being, he is of weak character. I don't get a good sense of who he is as a human being. I really think he put that razor blade in his friend's boot. His reaction to it was weird. It was just weird. It wasn't like, oh my God, oh, you know, OF, OS, none of that
Sense of
kind of
interrogation
stuff. As far as
was weird too. Yeah.
when you pull that up, it wasn't the shock that you see from other folks looking around the room. I think he did that message. He's just kind of looking up like, it was creepy as heck. I don't get a good feel from him.
There was definitely more than was said in that moment, for sure. For the sake of this is our spoiler review of episode 1. We're going to do episode 2, so I hope you guys are following this. I'm going to sprinkle how we drop this, but in the meantime, keep up and then join us for that group therapy session. If you're able to chime in, we will answer your questions, and yeah. See you later.
Thanks for inviting me. Bye.